What's tickin' and talkin' and rockin', everybody? Welcome to the Doop Movie Podcast. My name is Brian.
My name is Keith.
And we have with us a special guest today, my mom, Debbie.
Hi!
We are reviewing today the movie Yesterday. You're right. I should have mentioned that.
Yes.
Should have.
That's right.
Yes, she claims to be a professor at some university nobody's ever heard of, called East Carolina. Although I've never heard them claim her, so I don't know.
They probably would like to not.
Today we're talking about the movie Yesterday. This is the Danny Boyle film. Basically, what if the Beatles never existed and only one dude remembered all their music?
Hamish Patel.
Yes, Hamish. I think it's pronounced Hamish.
It's actually, I don't think so, because I have Hamish in my glasses.
Okay, is it spelled with an I?
No, his is spelled with an A.
His is spelled with an I.
Well, it depends on the person. Continue. Move on.
Let's just argue about
Move
it
on.
online.
That's right.
You can
have a comment session based on his name.
Yeah, you can tell we're related, people. Yeah, directed by Danny Boyle, who you might know from Trainspotting or 28 Days Later or 127 Hours. Okay. I think this might be the first Danny Boyle film I've ever actually seen.
That's a shame. I've enjoyed most of his movies. The only film of his I haven't seen is 127 Hours, mostly just because it's already been spoiled. Like, the whole culture knows what happens. So
that's the one where the dude chews off his own arm, right?
Well, I don't know if he chews it off, but
is he the one that he's the rock climber?
Yeah. He gets stuck in between rocks and stuff, and for just survival's sake, he has to get rid of that limb.
Doesn't
like
he have
a saw
pocket
or
knife?
something along
He
those
does.
lines.
It's like a pocket knife, and he cuts it off. Yeah, I remember that.
Whenever you were saying that, I think you were. I was imagining like gnawing, like eating, or something like he's gummy bear. That would be worse.
But this movie came out in May of 2019, and it premiered opposite Toy Story 4 and Spider-Man: Far From Home. Mm-hmm. And it was third in its opening week and dropped to fourth in its second week. Mm-hmm. And it just behind Annabelle: Come Home.
Yeah.
Had against a budget of, on the upper estimate, about $41.3 million. It made $153.2 million, and somehow the studio says they lost money, but we won't get into that. I enjoyed this movie.
Yeah,
I am not as steeped in Beatlemania as our special guest is, but my mom grew up listening to the Beatles. She was there for the British invasion. I mean, this was her jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 12 when they were on Ed Sullivan's show for the very first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I was allowed to stay up because they made me go into my room at 8.
Yeah.
And they let me stay up, and my mother and father laughed at the whole thing. They thought they were so funny looking with that woo and the long hair. And I was just like mesmerized. And they thought I was hilarious.
And that happens a lot in this movie, too. The main character will sing a Beatles song, and the world around him will just stop to listen. And at first I thought that was unrealistic, but then hearing Debbie talk about it, that it's how the Beatles songs were. Yeah. Like, when they first came out, people were just completely zoned into it. Written by Richard Curtis and Jack Barth.
What, the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Based off of a book by a story by Jack Barth, and Curtis kind of did some shady stuff behind the scenes to demand a writing credit for it. He's he wrote Bridget Jones's Diary. He wrote War Horse. A lot of British TV. But some of the stuff I've read about this, I mean, I'm not going to get into details, but it wasn't exactly above board.
Kosher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cinematography is Christopher Ross, who also did the 2010 Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, but is most notably infamous for doing the cinematography for Cats from 2019.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I've not seen that movie.
Oh, God, it's an abomination unto the
and
Lord.
We're not discussing it. I haven't seen it.
My grandmother likes it, mostly just because she's familiar with the theatrical release of
right.
it.
See, and I didn't see that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
I have. It's god-awful plotting.
Is that the one you went to Durham to see?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that sucks too. You haven't traveled to see this movie.
Well, no, not the movie. This is the play when they were touring.
Yeah, was it D-Pack?
Yeah, a lot of people love Cats. I respect it for what it is, but I could not stand it. It was plotting and awful, and I just couldn't stand it.
Well, the movie has Taylor Swift in it.
That's even worse. But the music, The music for this movie was done by Daniel Pemberton, who also did the music for one of my favorite movies ever, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I thought you were going to say Rent.
No. He did the music for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I really like his musical style. There's not a lot of score in this movie because most of the soundtrack is Beatles music.
Yeah.
Right? But he was also in charge of deciding which song goes where in the story. Because, releases a hit song would be written in the script, and he would decide which song fits in that spot. So he was the one that near the end, when he's doing the cry for help, he decided he'd play Help on the rooftop.
Mm-hmm. He never did play A Hard Day's Night, even though they talked about it quite a bit.
They played it in the background.
Yeah, but I mean...
Yeah.
So this movie stars Hamish Patel, who you'll know from EastEnders, and who as Tamwar Masood, and he was also recently in Tenet, and Lily James, who plays his love interest Ellie. She was the live-action Cinderella, and she was also in one of my other favorite movies of all time, Baby Driver, as the love interest in that too. So let's kick off the plot and just follow the discussion as it leads.
The main character, played by Hamish, is Jack Malik. He's a struggling musician working daytime in a department store. He gets this gig at this Latitude Festival. Help from his manager, his love interest,
Ellie.
Ellie Appleton, which there are some, Beatles references in the name itself, instead of Eleanor and so on and so forth.
Oh, that's good. I don't think I didn't notice that.
Yeah. But
there's a lot of Beatles fan service, not fan service, but
just
little nods.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he gets the help from this manager, Ellie, who drives him around because he can't drive yet. He's in his late 20s or something. He's still working on, trying to succeed and, becoming a musician. And he has these songs. They're fine. They're not Beatles worthy for sure.
Yeah.
Who is?
The movie kind of opens on his opus, which is the summer song.
Yeah.
Which is actually not bad.
Yeah, it's cute.
It was described later in the movie as, I hated it, but I found it so intensely uninteresting as to I don't care enough to listen to it again to figure out why.
Oh, that was that awful agent.
Deborah,
yeah.
Played by Kate McKinnon, but we'll get to her later.
We will. After he plays at the Latitude Festival, which he has a small crowd of children and people who aren't really paying attention to his music. It's not he's inspired to really rock it out there. And was this is it for me. This is my last gig, pretty much.
He does have really supportive friends.
Yeah.
His friends and family, friends, are supportive of his musical career. His parents, not so much.
Yeah. Just kind of waiting for this, hobby to, ease his way out of his life.
Yeah.
But Ellie made this comment and was miracles happen all the time. So on his bike ride home, because he drops him off, and you can tell that she has this little thing for him, that he's not going to act on because he's a dumbass.
Yeah.
And he's supposedly very shy. He doesn't strike me as shy, but
and they're friends from
grade school.
Younger
grade school,
grade school, being around somebody for that long.
Actually, it's set in Britain, so it would be technically called primary school.
Right. You're probably right about that. Yeah.
That was the most pedant thing I think I've ever said on this podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The most? We'll see. On his bike ride home, though, the world just blinked and flashed. It was this whole 12 seconds. The whole world just had this huge blackout. And, he wakes up, he gets hit by a bus, and then he, is carried to the hospital.
Because even the car's blacked out.
Yeah.
Everything
Isn't
out.
Now, they went out of their way to say that everything was blacked out for 12 seconds. Wasn't that a Beatles... conspiracy theory thing?
I don't know.
Wasn't there a Beatles track that was 12 seconds of silence, or am I thinking of something else?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That would make more sense as to why it's 12 seconds.
Because they did make kind of a big deal out of it being 12 seconds.
Just 12 seconds.
You're our Beatles expert, and you're failing us already, Debbie. Come on.
How would I know that?
That's
Their
right.
first Beatles reference was When I'm 64.
Oh. Yeah, will you still care for me when I'm 64?
Right.
Yeah.
In the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, and because he makes these references. He was in the hospital. He's like a reverse rabbit. He's got both of his front 2 teeth knocked out.
Yeah.
Ellie was joking around about the whole situation. I just I actually think she's really cute, just in general.
Yes,
I think she is too.
I thought this scene was adorable with the I have to say, you look like a cartoon character. Your front 2 teeth are missing. They've had to shave your beard, and unfortunately, for all the sympathy you deserve, you're only going to get laughed at.
Yeah. After that, he makes reference to we still care for me when I'm 64. It's reference to a lyric, and then she was just like, yeah, but why 64? Like as if he was just grabbing out of thin straws. I was like,
but doesn't he say McCartney?
No, not there.
Well, he doesn't say it.
He was like, what?
Oh, okay.
And she was like, oh, never mind, and leaves.
Yeah, pretty much. And then after that, he goes home. Well, I don't know if he goes home first or if he goes up to her place. Like, do you really not know who the Beatles are? But there's this little Google montage.
Mm-hmm.
You're skipping a part.
Whenever he plays the song Yesterday for his friends, after he gets out of the hospital. Yeah. He has some friends. He meets up with this couple.
And they're at the beach.
Yeah, well, it's a seaside town.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So they're overlooking the ocean.
Yeah, Suffolk, I think.
It's Suffolk, yeah.
And she gives him a beautiful guitar. Yeah. As a welcome back to being healthy gift.
Yeah.
And, thank you for not dying.
Yeah, right. and he's like, and this is when he's like, a beautiful guitar deserves a beautiful song, and so he plays Yesterday. Which is probably my favorite Beatles song, and the crowd that's there is completely mesmerized. Yeah. And when it's over, she looks to him and she's got tears in her eyes and she's like, when the hell did you write that? He's like, I didn't write it. Paul McCartney wrote it. Who? Mm-hmm. Paul McCartney. Yeah. The Beatles.
That's when you know that something's weird's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, like they refer to, not everyone has encyclopedic knowledge of obscure pop bands. Yeah. Like the Beatles.
It's like, but... No, this is the Beatles. Like this is one of the greatest songs ever. It's like, all right, come on now, it's not Coldplay.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
It's not Fix You.
Which is funny because I think there's this one character who's an actual musician that we'll talk about later on, but he was actually supposed to be cast as Dean Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay.
Oh, really?
And they just left the joke in there,
Chris Martin.
Chris Martin. You're probably right.
Yeah. Dean Martin was the Rat Pack. Dean Martin was a couple generations before this.
Yeah.
I will say, just to say, because in the movie now, it's happened a few times. There's a lot of sitcom conversations in this movie. Yeah. By which I mean, they'll start saying a conversation in one location and then continue it at the next location as though there's been no break in the conversation. Right. So, implying that they sat in the car for 20 minutes in dead silence and then continued the conversation when they got there.
Yeah, that's the real world issue with editing that conversation.
Yeah, well, they're called sitcom conversations, and it's for someone who watches a lot of movies and who now has a podcast on media analysis. It's something I picked up on a lot. Yeah, it doesn't hurt the film in any way. No. It's just an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, it throws through for the audience member, but if you're just a real person living in that situation, you're not going to not talk and then pick up the conversation 20 minutes later.
Right.
Yeah. But, well, I don't know. In this family, we might. We both have memory issues.
Shush, Donald.
But yeah, after that performance, he, he meets up with Ellie outside her house. It was raining or something, and I was like, "Do you really not know who the Beatles are?"
Isn't he in pajamas?
Yeah, she is.
She is. Okay, but he's just standing in the rain.
Because they got in a fight about it in her car.
Yeah.
Right. Because she was like, "I don't know who the Beatles are. Who is this band you're talking about?" And he's like, "This isn't funny. I'm done with this joke." And he gets out of her car.
Right.
But he goes home
because he was thinking that they're just
playing him. But then all of his Beatles albums are gone.
Yeah. He Googles the Beatles. He Googles Oasis. He Googles Paul McCartney, John Lennon. He Googles all these things.
Coming with Pope John Paul II.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And then when he looks for his albums, which for those uninitiated, that's vinyl recordings.
Also known as records.
Yes, he looks for his albums of the Beatles and they're all gone.
Yeah. Right.
He's still got the Rolling Stones.
Basically, an album is like all your songs on your Spotify playlist put onto this physical disc where you play in your...
You have to have a machine called a record player.
A specialized player that had a needle that you would put in the grooves.
Yes. Made from diamonds.
Yeah. Yes. I will say, one of my favorite line deliveries in the movie is the scene where he's looking for his albums. Mm-hmm. And he's pulling all the albums out looking for the Bees, and he gets past where the Beatles should be. He goes, "Stop it!" just stop it.
I like him. I think when it first started, I was very disappointed. But when he started talking and singing, you don't even think about the fact that he's you don't even think about he's British.
Yeah.
You know, he's good.
And he
sings. He sings very well.
Yeah, he has a voice made to sing Beatles songs.
Right. He sings. He's got a ballad voice. Yeah.
Yeah. And he when he's at home, he also asks for his mom, because he lives with his parents.
Yeah.
Brings him a Pepsi. So don't we have any Coke? She goes, you say the weirdest things. And so he Googles Coke, and what becomes a running gag in this movie is that it's not just the Beatles that have disappeared, but other things have too. So we can add Coca-Cola to the list of stuff that's disappeared.
Yeah.
We'll get into more of it as we go through it.
Pablo Escobar.
We looked up Coke.
We looked up Coke, yeah.
You know. And Oasis, the band that like he covered the song Wonderwall whenever he was in primary school. You know, they're no longer a thing, obviously.
Right.
Oasis was Paul McCartney's band after the Beatles,
no,
right?
that was the Wings. That was Wings.
Oh, well, who was Oasis?
I have no idea, but he got an Oasis.
Or was that Elton John?
It was a band that didn't include any of those people.
Okay, my bad.
But at some point, after that, he performed some of this music. You know, like One Hold Your Hand for this little kid's party, so on and so forth. And at one point, he started to perform Let It Be for his parents in the house, you know, trying to play it on piano. And they're just like, they're not really interested. They keep interrupting him. I was like, this is Let It Be. This is Mozart painting for you guys in front of you.
Yeah.
And I was like,
this is Da Vinci painting the Mona Lisa right before your bloody eyes. Can you shut up for 5 bloody minutes?
You know.
And
he never does play it though, right?
He plays the first verse of it like 4 times.
Right, but he never finished it. Right.
And I actually put in my notes, Jack is right. They need to shut up. They're being disrespectful. Yeah. Even if it's not the greatest song ever written, like recognized in this universe as the greatest song ever written, they're still being very disrespectful to Jack.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, at some point after that, he plays all these gigs, all these small little gigs, playing this Beatles music, and he doesn't really seem like he's getting any success, you know, and it was like, oh, it's not really, so it's not, because I have quality music now, because I remember all of this music that nobody else remembers at all, but, you know, maybe I could find some sort of way to success, but maybe it's just Jack Malek.
Well, he also,
Jack is the problem,
when he sang I Want to Hold Your Hand, he sang it very slowly.
Yeah.
It's not a ballad. It's a rock. At that time, it was a rock song.
Yeah.
And he sang it incorrect. He sang all the others right. But that one, I made a note of it.
Yeah.
That he sang it incorrectly. So, and that might have been part of the problem.
I'm sure it was probably part of it. And I mean, also, there's like all this music for so many years later, too. Like, this isn't, you know... I mean, this isn't the 70s, 60s.
Right, it's still 2020
you know.
in the movie.
Yeah,
even though everything blacked out, it's still the present. He didn't go back. Right.
Yeah, like the cultural significance of that music being there at that time is probably part of like what made them so successful. You know, and then now this guy is playing along this music nowadays. I was like, oh, maybe nobody is just not really in the mood for this sort of, you know, vibe.
Yeah, and they kind of touch on that a little bit, but they also really touch on a lot of the Beatles music is timeless.
Yeah.
You know, and in a good way. Like, most of the soundtrack for this movie is Beatles music.
Yeah.
You know, what little bit of score there is very, like, mystery-inducing and good, but it's really it's when the
You're
Beatles
waiting
music's,
for the Beatles music.
Yeah, when one of their songs kicks on, that's when you know something's happening.
Yeah. At some point, after that, he's just hanging on this beach side, he's drinking a pint. Ellie comes up to him, and you know she has something behind her back, and he was just like defeating himself. It was like, you know, maybe I'm just not cut out for this gig. Maybe it's just not for me.
Yeah.
It was like,
I know the Strongser song. Maybe the problem is me.
The Strongser song.
The Strongser song.
That's
yes.
Yes, I said the Strongser songs. The songs. The Strongser songs. The songs are songs.
T-shirt. The Strongser song. Okay.
Strongser songs. But apparently there's this gentleman that Ellie has run into who's offering him a free space to record music.
Yeah.
Which is right next to a train.
Yeah.
You know.
But either way,
it's a free space to record music. You know, so it's great for him, you know.
So he goes to this recording studio, and they produce a 5-track album called The Railway Records.
Yeah.
right? Or the railway recordings. And it's not a Beatles album, but it's very reminiscent of an early Beatles album, I think. Especially with, like, the cover art and stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say that listening to the recording montage of them going through a medley of Beatles songs as he's recording them, and watching Debbie's face just light up, and as she's singing along to every song, it's a completely...
he was thrilled with that one.
Oh no, I loved it. It was a completely different experience than just sitting and watching the movie by itself.
Yeah.
So if you do recommend this movie, I mean, tease the eventual opinion. I highly recommend this movie. If you can, watch it with someone who grew up with the Beatles. Yeah. And
thank you for avoiding the word older.
Watch it with someone who grew up steeped in the Beatles, and you will, after you change their diapers and stuff, you'll really enjoy the movie.
Isn't he such a cunt?
He is. So true.
Yo, I could edit these out and make myself look really good. Right?
I doubt that. After that, he recorded these songs and they get released at some point. He has this little television spot.
He's giving them away at the hardware store where he works, or the big box store, the warehouse.
Yeah.
See, that's where I wrote when he started with the trend that he is learning who's going to listen to these songs. He's learning who to sing them to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A 5-year-old's birthday party isn't going to care about A Hard Day's Night or I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Right.
But a 30-year-old will.
Yeah, like, I mean, a gig's a gig, by the end of the day, but,
he's got to get paid. Yeah.
But after that, like, the TV spot, I found it very condescending. Like
what?
Oh, yeah, the local TV spot?
Yeah. He was just, like, trying to shoo him along. Was like, yeah, okay, that's nice, that's cool. Let's go on to this new promotion that we have for a new product, pretty much.
Well, he had written a joke, obviously, because it was on the teleprompter. It was shown on the teleprompter while Jack was still talking about, the song that he had just sang. The joke was like, it didn't mention the warehouse store at all, and you could make another album, the warehouse record or whatever.
Right.
And it was very obvious that this, like, local TV host was so full of himself that he had written this joke, not even having met Jack, and was so intent on getting it in that he just completely ignored what Jack was trying to say, and then said his joke anyway, and it just came off as awkward and forced.
Yeah.
So... Yeah. It was cringeworthy.
Yeah. After that, he gets a ride back from Ellie, and he gets this random call. He was thinking that it was like the couple of friends that they were talking with earlier when he performed yesterday in front of. And it was like, I thought this person was going to be there. Carol, I think was the name.
Yeah. It was
Carol and Mark. Yeah.
Mark. Was it Mark? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought, so was Carol there? I was like, no, he wasn't there. Apparently, this call is from Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
The famed musician
who used to date Taylor Swift.
Oh,
God, she keeps showing up in the periphery.
I know.
But yeah, this is the role that I was mentioning earlier that Chris Martin would have been cast as.
Really?
Yeah, like it was supposed to be Chris Martin, and that's why they had the whole Coldplay joke written into.
I did not know that. That makes a lot of sense now.
I like that they went with Ed Sheeran though.
Ed Sheeran has the more balladeer type voice.
Mm-hmm. That, and he's steeped in the British underground pop culture way more than Coldplay is.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Coldplay's British.
Yeah, but I mean, I can see the underground part more so for Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
He's newer for sure. So he calls Malik. Eventually, he just shows up to his house.
Because Malik's like, I think that might actually have been Ed Sheeran. Right, and then we cut to Jack's house, and he's laying in bed like, oh God, oh God, oh God, and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, and Ed Sheeran is at his front door.
Because he treated him like he thought it was a friend playing a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he walked into the house and like, I need somebody to open up for me for my European tour. I mean, what are you doing on Tuesday? And was like, let's play for your core.
I'm opening up for you. That's what I'm doing.
That's what I'm doing.
Flying to Moscow.
Flying to Moscow. That's right. But apparently he brings it up to his manager, Ellie, and she's unavailable because she's a school teacher. By day, and she's not available for it. There's his character. He met
Rocky.
Yeah.
That's where I got the "What's Tickin' and Tockin' and Rockin" line.
You know, because he met Rocky at the festival at the very beginning of the movie. He was like a roadie for this one band. He got fired, and then he was staying at his friend's house, like couch surfing basically.
Yeah, Rocky is basically your layabout, drug-addled, useless dude, but he's funny.
Yeah, I mean, he's a funny guy. He's charming, and he brings him along to stand in for a manager position, pretty much.
Yeah, roadie.
Pretty much. Yeah, just to have somebody around. Yeah, but he brings him along to Moscow, and of course, he has like an Ed Sheeran song playing, in his car, "Shape of You," which is kind of popular during the meantime.
Yeah, which is a good song. Yeah. The Ed Sheeran, there's two Ed Sheeran songs that are featured in this movie. It's "Shape of You" here in the beginning, and then there's one near the end that are played, and it fits with the tone of the movie. I mean, it's not as good as the Beatles music, but then again, it's the Beatles.
And it's not supposed to be, because this movie is highlighting the Beatles music.
Yeah, and they, a character will mention later that, in this universe, Ed Sheeran was John the Baptist to Jack Malek's The Messiah, because he's releasing all this music, he's changing the world of music forever, the way the Beatles did back in the 60s. Yeah. He sings "Back in the USSR" in Moscow.
And they love it.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the USSR.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty cool, like some of the fan reaction stuff, all that's gonna, age with time, like all the hearts and the smiley faces showing up on the screen, like that's not gonna age well in years to come, but it's fine. And of course, he's being challenged by, Ed Sheeran. I was like, it's interesting that you chose that term, like, you just wrote that song in the 3-hour, plane ride over here. Yeah. And used this term that, hasn't been used since before you were born.
Oh, that's right. USSR, because it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Russia.
I remember hearing that in the movie thinking, oh, that's right. And then I just totally forgot about it.
Yeah, and in what I think might be one of my favorite scenes in the movie is Ed Sheeran challenges him to a songwriting competition.
Yeah. Well, let him get through the movie part first.
Well, yeah, no, that's the scene.
Yeah.
Like they have a songwriting competition. It's like, okay, we both go in these separate rooms. We write a song. We come back out here, and of course, John Malick wins.
Well, of course.
Well, I don't know. "The Long and Winding Road" has never been one of my favorite Beatles tracks. Well, and I really kind of liked Ed Sheeran's Penguin Song groove.
Yes, but "The Long and Winding Road" was better.
Okay.
It was.
She says glaring daggers.
And he sang "In My Life," which is my favorite Beatles.
Oh yeah, that was the song he sang on the local TV show.
He also sang it in the USSR when he was in Moscow. He sang that one too, and that's a Lennon song, and it's it's hard to have like a favorite Beatles song, but that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, he kind of defeats himself, and I was like, oh well, I could definitely see who's the better one. Like even Ed is, like graciously bowing down to Malick's talent.
Yeah, he's like, I always knew they always told me someone would come along who's better than me. Yeah, and you are definitely better than me.
Yeah, somebody wrote this song better than me. Really like hammering in that point to where he didn't write this music.
Right.
He just remembers it.
He sings it.
He sings it.
And he sings it fairly well, but he didn't write it.
He didn't write it. That's the pretty big point of it.
There's a note that I made here. This is, I think, where Jack starts to realize that this music is powerful. And like anything that's powerful, it can hurt people if used incorrectly.
Right.
So he's... Ed Sheeran is a classy dude. I'll put that on my notes, too. And he bows out of this competition with class, but he also, this is the guy who gave him his break, and he just kind of shat all over him.
Yeah.
In a dishonest way. Now, nobody has any way of knowing he's been dishonest except him.
Right.
So most of the conflict in this movie is Jack fighting with himself.
Yeah, it's very
very
internal.
internal. Yeah.
Jinx. After that, Ed's manager, last name Hammer, propositions to... Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Last name Hammer,
I don't get that one.
That's her last name. Her last name is Hammer.
Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Y'all don't get that either, do you?
Oh my God, and she said, I'm offering you the poison silver chalice.
Right.
I just picked that up.
Bang, bang, Maxwell's silver hammer came down on her head. That was totally out of tune. Completely.
Hey,
Deborah, played by Kate McKinnon, who is a Saturday Night Live alumnus and was also in the Ghostbusters remake.
And was a totally unlikable character in this movie.
Oh, I loved her in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
I mean, she was a bitch.
Well, she performed that character well.
She did.
Yeah.
I mean, she did a good job. She
Yeah,
made
she's
her
a
very
great job.
unlikable.
Exactly. That's, where we're coming to. Like, we recently, talked about a different character in, Ford v Ferrari who has, like, the same, like, I love it when an actor makes me, like, really despise a person so much,
Because you like the actor.
BB. Yeah.
You like the actor, but it's like, ew, really?
And it really shows range.
Yeah.
Right. Especially for someone who is as charismatic as Deborah McKinnon, who, as an improv...
Kate McKinnon.
I'm sorry. I called her Deborah McKinnon. That's my bad. Kate McKinnon, who, is on Saturday Night Live and has been for years.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't stay on the biggest improv show in existence unless you're charming.
Well, except in Britain, on this movie, it's Thursday Night Live. Did you catch that? Did you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, we can add Thursday Night Live instead of Saturday Night Live to the list of changes to this universe.
Right.
Yeah. But he propositions to Jack and was like, now, come on, you're going to have to come to L.A. We're going to have to sign a deal and then make you the king of the world, basically, in terms of music. He goes back to Suffolk to, have this little party, which the montages are like the little scene changes where they have like the name of the city or town.
Right.
I like most of them except for the Suffolk one because they have these little balloons just like plopped.
But that's because they're singing that song, Carry That Weight.
Yeah.
You've gotta carry that weight. He's carrying the weight of all these decisions. And I think that is what that's trying to tell you.
And weren't these scene transitions very reminiscent of A Hard Day's Night, the movie?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
The movie was filmed very much like Hard Day's Night. Except Hard Day's Night was in black and white.
Yeah.
And they did that on purpose. Why, I don't know. But
I mean, it's not unheard of. Kevin Smith did a black and white movie back in 94. So
yeah,
92.
but I mean, color was...
Yeah.
It's not like most movies were black and white. Right. They chose to do it that way.
It's like an artistic...
Right, exactly.
And there's some things that benefit from that. Like The Lighthouse, for example. I love the movie so much.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh,
what movie?
The Lighthouse.
Oh, okay.
It's wonderful.
I should watch that one.
It's wonderful. It's weird.
You should do that one and the Belko Experiment.
Oh yes, yeah, that's one I wanted to bring up with you. Another movie we should watch is the Belko Experiment.
Cool. But eventually, there's this little party at Suffolk. Everybody's just kind of saying goodbye to him. They're was like, either you're gonna succeed and move on, or you're gonna fail miserably and come back to Suffolk. So here's to failing miserably and being stuck in our town forever.
Failure and a swift return.
Failure and a swift return. Yeah.
And it's important to note that he's like, you can come with me. You can have the job back from Rocky if you want it in this scene.
But she's a teacher.
Yeah,
you need to say who he's talking to.
Yeah, he's talking to Ellie.
He's talking to Ellie, and in the ups, whenever he goes up to his room, and there's all these notes about all these songs, posted in these columns, basically how Ellie, puts it, and was like, I don't know where, like, how did I get into the wrong column, basically?
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was a very well written line. Yeah.
And another reference to a Beatles song.
Oh?
I got put into the And I Love Her column, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't I get into the And I Love Her column?
Yeah.
And that's a Beatles song. And I Love Her.
Oh, okay.
Y'all didn't know that?
Huh.
This is why we brought you on.
Yeah. Like, I like their music, they're not my favorite,
Well, no, but you're young.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm ancient.
Well, no.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 10 years older than Keith, and I'm not a huge Beatles fan either.
But you grew up with it. You grew up listening to... Well, you grew up more listening to country, I guess. Benjamin grew up more with the Beatles.
Yeah. Well, I remember you playing a bunch of your old LPs and stuff when I was little.
Yes,
The Beatles and the Stones and...
Yeah. I love the Stones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like the Stones.
Anyway, we'll move right on.
But yeah, basically, he makes a decision to move to LA, and he kind of like breaks it off with Ellie. At some point, there's this mention, and I was like, man, I could really it's a shame that I quit smoking. I could really kill a cigarette right now. And then Rocky's like, wait, what are you talking about? I was like, there's no cigarettes either.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that.
He Googles cigarette, and it's like a town in
that.
Spain.
Yeah.
And I was like, so that's what? That's like, it's interesting that other things disappear, but it kind of, makes me think more. And I was like, so wait, nobody like does tobacco grow? Does tobacco even exist? Like,
who knows?
You
Obviously, weed still exists because Rocky is around and almost always high.
Probably, yeah. He mentioned the bond. He mentioned the bond before the incident, and I don't remember him.
Oh,
saying
that's
anything
right.
About
he
it
mentioned
afterward.
drinking afterwards.
So I don't know if marijuana is still
Smoking is a
plan,
thing. Who knows?
you know?
I mean, you don't even know if any type of smoking is.
Wow.
I didn't even notice that part.
Yeah, I think they're gonna.
Yeah, they released the top 5 songs online,
Which
just the vocals.
Which I thought was interesting online. That is definitely a now kind of reference.
Yes.
Definitely.
And there's like this montage in this part, and I kind of wanted to make special note of it because it's like him walking through his songs going viral, and the titles of the songs are flashing up on the screen, and the views are going into the millions, and people are talking about how he's the messiah of music.
Yeah.
And he is deliriously unhappy.
Yes.
Like he is tortured during this scene,
Yeah.
and this blowing up. Like this was what is happening. He's blowing up in the pop culture,
and he is forgetting the words to songs.
Yeah, especially Eleanor Rigby, which kind of becomes
Rigby,
his white whale. But he's blowing up, but he's getting less and less happy as he does it.
Right.
Which is kind of a microcosm for the entire theme of the movie.
Yeah.
And I like that they kind of boiled down the whole movie to this one scene, and it really works really well. Makes me think pretty highly of Danny Boyle as the director.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if this is a movie makes you think highly of him, you should check out his other stuff.
I will. I will.
You will.
I'll do it.
And not just for the podcast either.
Yeah, just cause. Let's see. There's this, but yeah, he struggles with Eleanor Rigby, so he makes his decision to actually travel back to this area,
Liverpool.
Liverpool, to get inspired. Yeah, because he leaves L.A. and Hammer's just like, what do you mean? I can think of 30, 50 other places that are more inspirational than Liverpool.
Right.
And I was like,
starting with Shitsville, USA.
And I was like, well, I mean, I need to go there, so I'll be back here by Friday, pretty much. Because I think there's going to be a late show schedule.
He's with James Corden, isn't that the one? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he goes to Liverpool, and then there's this weird lady that's been kind of stalking him around, throughout the whole time.
And we didn't mention this earlier, but there was a dude in Moscow with a kind of scraggly beard who was kind of looking at him in shock when he was performing.
Right, and it's that he and this weird lady are following Jack around.
Yeah, but we don't know why yet.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird use of Dutch angles in this movie, and I know there's a reason for it in some film. I don't know why it's used in. I mean, maybe it's just to give off the suddenly off vibe of somebody following them around, but it's been used in more than one scene that doesn't involve that.
In A Hard Day's Night,
mm-hmm.
That was the premise of the whole film. Is some weird old guy is following them around, and they keep having these. I don't know what a Dutch angle is.
It's when the camera is tilted at a 30-degree angle.
They have tilted scenes in A Hard Day's Night like that, and I wonder if that's why.
I could see that.
Yeah. Because that cinematography choice really doesn't make sense. I guess,
in the beginning, in this scene, I can see it being a thing. And I can understand paying homage to A Hard Day's Night because I haven't actually seen it.
It's not that great.
Yeah.
The music's good, but it's not very...
And Christopher Ross is an accomplished cinematographer. So, I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Right. I'm not saying that he doesn't. I'm just saying I don't particularly favor it. Yeah.
People who haven't seen A Hard Day's Night would not understand why that was put in this movie in particular.
Well, in general...
and it may not have a reason.
As a rule of thumb, Dutch angles are used to make the audience feel a little off-put or off-kilter.
Yeah.
So that to kind of emulate what the characters are, so you empathize with the characters who are feeling out of place or out of sorts in some way. But yeah, you're right. It's not used really well to that effect in this movie.
Yeah.
In certain scenes it is, but in certain scenes it's there when it doesn't match the tone of what's going on.
See, I think the music tells you what's happening. Long and Winding Road, he has to go travel back, you know.
Yeah, it's funny that he did play that song on the piano before he got his offer to go to L.A.
Yeah.
That is nice. at some point after all of his travels, he went to the strawberry fields. He went to
which is a playground.
Yeah.
He went to the church of Eleanor Rigby's grave.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a real person.
Yeah.
I can't remember though. There was some significance to John Lennon about Eleanor Rigby, and I cannot remember what it was to say. I was trying to the other
You're
night.
useless.
I am. I'm so sorry.
And then after that, he goes back, to the place where he's staying at, just a hotel room, basically. And
where he finally gets a handle on the Eleanor Rigby lyrics.
Yeah.
You know.
Like something rice in the wedding, some of
Yeah.
those lines.
Interestingly, this is something I kind of want to point out. You never see, because it shows when every time he tries to do the Eleanor Rigby song.
Yeah.
Right? It is the only time it does this, but it shows a scene of what he's singing.
Right.
And this is the only song for the movie that they do this for.
That's right, it is.
And there's a woman in a bride's dress and a priest, and you never see the woman's face.
Yeah.
And
picks up the rice in the church where the wedding has been.
And keep that in mind, because I'll bring that up again in a little while.
Yeah. But who meets him in, his hotel room but Ellie Appleton. She travels up 800 and... No, not 800.
360 miles.
Yeah.
360 miles, something along those lines. Yeah, just to see him. And then they go out in the town for a little bit. Have this nice date. Going out and about. They make it back to his room. They have a couple of drinks, and then they're about to kiss and they're about to go on the next step. But then she steps back and she was like, "Wait a minute, I don't want to be put into this column because." I don't want to
One night stand is a new column for me.
Yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah. And I really like this scene.
Yeah.
I like that she says no. I like that she shows up and they have this date where they are obviously, really perfect for each other.
Yeah.
They're finishing each other's sentences. They fall right back into the rhythm of all their in-jokes and stuff over and over again. It's great.
Her and Jack?
Yeah, Ellie and Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of it, they're kissing and she's like, maybe it's a no. Maybe I have to stop. Yeah. And then she's like, this is a one-night stand is not me. This is not who I am. I'm just going to go back to my room. This was not a mistake. Coming here and spending this time with you was not a mistake, but going further would be. And I think that speaks volumes to not only her character, but to not have her just be the puppy dog smitten love interest.
Yeah.
Who follows him around.
Or like the conquest.
Yeah.
All right, I got that piece of ass. Let us go get some more. Which a lot of men would probably do.
This is
99%.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Poor old Jack Mallet.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. After that situation, the day comes around and he has to leave, but then he comes about and is like, oh God, this is crazy. I'm going to have to chase her down and make sure that,
she knows that I love her.
Really knows that I love her. That, I love her. I know we've had this 20-year friendship and so on and so forth, but...
It's more than that.
It's more than that for me, too, And he tries to track down, the right train that she's leaving off of. She has this, she's sitting down for dinner. You thought that she is gone from this, 8 train. It's like train 8 or something, but I think it must have been 6 or something, because a couple people were arguing about which train goes up to Suffolk.
And he ran by a train. Remember the name of it?
Mm-mm.
The number of it?
Mm-mm.
909.
Okay.
What is that a reference to?
There's a Beatles song. My baby says she's leaving on the one after 909.
Huh.
Oh,
they didn't
cool.
play that song. But there is a... So I noticed it, and I said it to you when we were watching it. I said, you noticed the number of that train.
Oh. And I didn't know what you were referencing then either.
Interesting, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie is full of little
yeah,
bits.
and it's a good movie for anybody who likes music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to know all this stuff about the Beatles, but if you do, I mean, like me, I just have to spit it out.
But yeah, well, it's like watching a Marvel movie with someone who's steeped in the comics. They'll catch all the little references that you don't.
Right.
And it makes it more enjoyable. That's why I'm really glad I sat down and watched it with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, after that, they... she's sitting down, she's having this late lunch or something, some crisps and so on and so forth. Rocky is coming along too, and he was trying to sit on the camera. He's like, no, dude, this is not your conversation. This is
Poor Rocky.
This is none of your business.
Rocky is a good-natured dude.
Yeah.
You know, it is not many friends who would see that you're in a panic and immediately take off down the street on foot for a train station just because you said, run, we have to catch her.
Yeah, like they run in like separate directions at one point
And they
in time.
wind up
Like,
together.
he didn't even know Ellie was in town.
Yeah.
He's like, catch who? Ellie. She's in Suffolk, mate. No, she's here.
here.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah. Yeah, Joel Fryder's great in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, apparently, yeah, they so he was like, okay, well, can I have a couple of your crisps then? And he gets some of the crisps out of, like her pile that she's eating off of. It was like, no, what crisps? And it's like, she's like,
now,
she's already in an emotional place. And now you're taking my
taking
food.
them. I
You're
know.
taking my food.
for our American viewers, this is set in Britain. In Britain, what we call potato chips, they call crisps. What we call
French fries,
they call chips.
right?
They also call cookies biscuits
Yes.
and crackers cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, or crisps. Crackers are also crisps, salty.
Yeah.
Salty crisps.
So,
Crisps.
I love this scene.
Yeah. I love this scene too.
I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, I mean, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She has so many good lines in this movie,
Yeah.
and these are, you know, you've had 20 years to make your move. Okay, well, you've had 10 years to make your move,
Right.
and I've been waiting half my life for you to wake up and love me, and that was my mistake.
Right.
You know, and that hits hard.
Yeah. Like Lily really takes this to an emotional place, and she pulls it off so well.
Mm.
I just don't like the character making this notion was like, you know, I mean, she was the manager beforehand. She was, you know, driving him around and, you know, dropping off all these like tiny little gigs and so on and so forth, like supporting him throughout all this. But now that he's going to go be famous, she's not supporting that anymore.
I think she doesn't want to be a groupie.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to just be a hanger-on. She wants him to realize
Right.
that he loves her, that she's more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that like her like him coming to this train to have this talk with her is that
That's what I
sort of
thought, but
thing.
she didn't quite get that.
And she didn't, you
Yeah.
know, pick up that clue and was like, no, this is last night was the chance.
Right.
Yeah,
You're done now.
You
Yeah.
know.
She's like, unless you choose to stay.
Yeah, unless you don't go on to your
And that's not
meeting,
fair.
you know,
That's not fair.
that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I agree that's not fair. And the first time I watched this movie, I thought the same thing. That's real kind of crappy of her to do that.
Yeah.
That being said, this is about him learning to love the things he already had,
Right.
and her. It's showing him that he has to work and make sacrifices for the things that he loves. And running to a train station for 5 minutes of conversation before you get on a plane is not as much of a sacrifice. I think that's
Right.
kind of what the movie was going for.
No, like
Right.
yeah, I mean, you have
Yeah,
to.
if you actually miss the plane, that's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
Yeah.
because I mean, he keeps saying, "I gotta go." You know,
But he had to get back because he was
yeah.
on the Late Show.
Yeah, Rocky was there with, and he had like Deborah on the hammer on the speakerphone.
Yeah.
Why aren't you on the plane, you stupid British piece of shit? You know.
Yeah, she's a sweet person.
Oh, she's awful. I love it. But you know, she says no, and she's like, "This was not a mistake, but I am who I am. You go be the greatest singer songwriter in existence."
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, what hits home for him is because she says, he's like, "But I'm not." Yeah, but you probably are though.
Right.
Right. But he's saying, "I'm not because I didn't write these songs."
Right.
She thinks he's just being humble.
Yeah.
And it's once again, it highlights his own problem. And in terms of the way the movie is structured, he can't get the happy life he wants with her until he gets past his own conflict.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, I don't know if that was enumerated very well in the scene, which is why it comes off as Lily kind of being a bitch, or Ellie kind of being a bitch. But I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah. And I mean, like, he's an artist anyway. He would, you know, you would think that an artist would like to propose their own sort of influence into
Right.
music instead of, like, copying off of somebody else, plagiarizing and such.
Yes, but he wants to be famous.
Yeah, it's one to be famous.
I don't think
What
he
was the
even
issue,
realized
really?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think when he first started singing their music, he didn't realize that that's really what he was doing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they never existed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in reality, his reality, it's not plagiarism.
Right. But it feels that way to him.
Right,
because,
but
Right.
it does, yeah.
You know.
And that's why I think when he's on the roof of that hotel, that
Mhm.
big hotel and that big gig he has,
Yeah.
he sings help.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to get out of it. So it's like,
he's
somebody help me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when we get to that scene, I have more notes about that too. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry, I thought we were at that.
Oh, it's fine.
I'm
we're good.
There's only a few other things in between. We'll get there eventually. There was like this meeting with like the head of marketing.
The major marketing meeting of meetings,
Yeah.
as it's referred to many times.
You know.
And they even lampshade it. He's like, "Is it really called that?" She goes, "Yes, it's really called that."
Yeah. But they were talking about like, releasing like this double album pretty much of all of his music, his music in quotation marks,
Right.
And I was like, well, I got all of your suggestions, Abbey Road and like
The White Album.
You
And
know,
Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
like they don't like any of those at all.
Right.
But they like the sound of like their own idea, one man only, pretty much, and like it really like drives home the concept of this film. It was like this all this was made by one man only, and like the double album was the back of his head and is only written by
Right.
Jack Malik performed.
He
Which
has
actually
a
was
real
a very
problem
good
with that.
idea.
Yeah,
But it really drove home, hey man, what are you doing?
yeah,
You
Yeah. This isn't your work.
yeah.
know? Hey dude,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah. After that, there was this. I came with this new term for this, but basically, there's this scene where he goes on the James Corden show, and had this talk. He performs music and such, and then he was like, "Well, you realize that, like, because I don't think this music is yours. I think there are a couple of other people in the back who says that they're the Beatles." And I thought this was real. I thought that this was actually happening. And I was like, oh my God.
I did too. First time I saw it, I did too.
Like the real Beatles really remember this real music that they didn't make together. But I titled this The Daymare, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like a nightmare during the day, like a daydream, but it's like a nightmare, a
But
daymare.
he was asleep, wasn't he? Didn't he wake up?
I think, yeah, because I think he had he would pass out or something.
Well, I think the implication was that he was sleeping backstage at the James Corden show.
Is that what it is? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was sleeping. He was like napping in the green
because
room.
he's so worried, carries that weight all the time of this is going to happen.
And this is a scene with implications because they're like, I'd like to introduce in the dream.
Yeah,
Gordon is like, I want to introduce Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, and then all you see is feet.
Yeah.
Walking forward. There's one pair of shoes and barefoot. And
Paul McCartney. That had to be Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Because on the album Abbey Road, he is barefoot.
Yeah.
And there was a huge outcry when I was a teenager, when Abbey Road came out, because everybody thought that meant Paul McCartney was dead.
Right. Because was he the one in the back?
Yeah, he was the one. I think he was either the last one or the next to last.
Because I've heard this theory too. It was like Abbey Road. There's this theory that like the last person is the grave digger, and then somebody else was like the third person was supposed to be dead or something.
The third person. I think that's who he was.
Yeah.
Was the third person.
Yeah.
But he was also barefoot. He's the only one barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
And they say everybody said it was because he was dead. Well, of course, Paul McCartney's not dead.
Right.
He's still performing.
Yeah.
Even though none of my students know who he is.
Yeah. And that's a shame.
He is the old man that was trying to teach Michael Jackson how to play the piano. They saw that on TV. The Ebony and Ivory.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of my students had seen that, and that's who they thought he was.
Yeah, it's just, the piano teacher.
Yeah.
That's funny. After that, he's trying to record some music. Hammer comes down on him hard about his own
Yeah, this is
original.
This is when he plays the summer song,
You
which they open the movie with, and that's when she says the line about how I hated it, but I found it so uninteresting as to I never want to listen to it again to figure out why.
Ed Sheeran suggests changing a name of one of the songs that he's recording to something different. Changing Hey Jude to Hey Dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Hey Jude has real implications for
Julian Lennon.
Yeah.
It was written. Do you want me to say it?
Yeah. Please.
Oh, it was written for Paul McCartney wrote that song when John left Cynthia, his wife, and their son Julian and took up with Yoko Ono.
Hmm.
And Julian was so depressed, and a nickname for Julian is Jude. And he was so depressed, McCartney wrote that song. Don't, take it bad or whatever.
Right.
She's going to be okay. You're going to make it. You're going to get through it. And that's why changing it to Hey Dude changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But none of these songs are going to have that special meaning to Jack. Because
No,
Jack
'cause
wasn't
he
a
does-
part
yeah.
of any of that experience.
Right.
Yeah. So he makes up a friend whose son had cancer.
Yeah.
And that's why it's Jude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or like a
and
kid or something.
And
yeah.
Ed Sheeran, who is not an actor, but who acquits himself very well in this movie.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't believe you. And there's this beat where like, what? Oh God, oh God, oh God.
Right.
And he's like, I don't believe that you are so talented. How are you doing this? Like, I can't believe it. Like
Right.
he was speaking in hyperbole.
Yeah.
Hyperbole.
Hyperbolic.
Hyperbole.
Yeah.
Along with his girlfriend Penelope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teddy Lowe, that's right.
Yes, and that character from Harry Potter, Hermione.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, after this, he gets a call from Ellie, and Ellie's letting him know, it's like, hey, well, there are two things. I've got some news for you. That's like a little conversation that they've had beforehand. One, the Pier Hotel is reopening. It's like this old gig.
Yeah, that was like his most memorable gig with Ellie.
You know.
They show up, and he's like, I'm the musician. I'm here for the gig. And the person in the hotel is like, well, that's a bit tricky because the hotel closed 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I take it as a sign.
Yeah. And then two, she's seeing Gavin. She's moved on already.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, what? Oh, well, that's
I don't really
nice.
want to. That's not news.
That's,
I want to hear that.
Yeah, but
I mean,
she says,
thank you for telling me, I guess.
Yeah.
well, it's good that he didn't like find out from the tabloids or whatever.
Right. No, I know.
And
It's
she
good.
actually says
Yeah.
he puts me in the right column every day.
Yeah.
Which that's what hits hard, I think,
Right.
for Jack.
Yeah. But then he really divas out everyone else, like Hammer and such, and was like, oh, well, whatever the call was, must have been really important, so wherever else you want to premiere this album, just let us know. But we just need like a place and a time or something. And I was like, actually, I have an idea.
And it was that hotel,
And that's the
right?
hotel.
Yeah.
And it does say, actually, I really like this scene too. Because when he blows up at the people in the recording studio, because he gets the call in the recording studio.
Yeah.
And he blows up at the people in the studio, can I just take 5 minutes for a damn phone call? And he apologizes. Because Deborah is like, no, that's rock star privilege.
Yeah.
You can treat the people you work with like shit on your shoes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It is terrible. And Jack knows this. And that's why he's like, look, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm just extremely stressed. And I'm sorry. And that's when she's like, well, you don't be stressed. It's nothing to worry about. It's just the biggest decision of your entire career. Where are you going to premiere this album? And he's like, I have some thoughts.
But after that, they premiere the album at the hotel. They play Help, as you mentioned earlier.
And the way he sings it, this is definitely a cry for help.
Mm-hmm.
Because
at the end he screams, "Somebody please help me!"
Yeah. And during the press conference before the show where he plays Help, you see the Russian dude and the woman
lady
from Liverpool standing up, shouting like, "Who was your favorite, George, Paul, John, or Ringo?" And one of them's holding a yellow submarine, right? And so you're like, "Oh crap! Oh crap! Oh crap!" They're not a hallucination, or are they?
Right?
Because he's kind of losing his mind.
Yeah, he's not really sure at this rate.
Yeah.
After he performs that, his parents show up and they meet him up there at his room at the very top of the hotel, and there's all this food in there, and like the father was just more convinced about like the food just in general.
Yeah.
Like, oh, is that tuna
You've
sandwich?
got so many sandwiches.
You have so many sandwiches. May I take one? You take them all, Dad.
Yeah.
Just
Go.
take them
What
all.
a day!
What
a day!
yeah.
I got a free sandwich.
Like, he doesn't care about his son being the next, Messiah of music, but
yeah, that's kind of a dig at like British, what we in America call baby boomers, but in the British they just call the parents' generation. Right. That's their whole culture is we can't show emotion.
Right.
That would not be proper.
I guess
It wouldn't be British.
Yeah.
You just don't show it. They're very stoic.
Yeah, I put in my notes. That's as emotional as British parents are allowed to be.
Yeah.
After that, Rockin comes in and was like, "Hey, got a couple of people out here that wants to meet you, Jack." You know, and it's those two weirdos we keep mentioning over and over again. You know, the Russian and the lady.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, like, there's little. Was Rocky holding the Yellow Submarine?
Yeah, because he's like, they've been waiting. This is after the show, and they've been waiting to see you for like 2 hours, and they're a very weird pair.
Yeah.
And they gave me this to give to you. It was a Yellow Submarine.
Right.
He's like, let him in.
For our listening audience who may not know the significance of the Yellow Submarine.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a song. It was also, wasn't it part of, it was a play on, it was a short film also, the Yellow Submarine, was it not? Yeah. It was a song by Leonard and McCartney. We all live in the Yellow Submarine.
Wasn't it on Sgt. Pepper's?
It was on Sgt. Pepper's as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, they mention in this, they sing Yellow Submarine, and then they mention Octupus's Garden.
They don't sing it, but
they don't sing it, but they mention it.
Yeah.
They do. Yes.
Yeah, like they walk in the room and you're thinking like they're gonna come for him or something, or they're gonna like, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Now is where it all falls apart.
You know, they're gonna take me for my money's worth or something. They're gonna do something to me, and I was like, thank you for bringing these songs back, because at least somebody remembers these songs.
And these are the implication is kind of like, these are now the only 3 people in the world that remember anything that happened before the blackout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love this subversion, because this whole movie, these two have been like framed as villains, as like the people in the background who are just waiting. They're basically Chekhov's gun, the people.
Right.
They're waiting to cause trouble, and then they show up, and it's like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's just so good to hear the music again. Neither one of us can sing, so thank you for bringing it back.
But then they hand him. They say anything about him?
He's like, they're like, use it well. You've been given a gift, use it well. And he's like, I'm trying to, but I just feel like I'm living a lie.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, we did some digging. We did a lot of digging.
So he hands him a note with all this like information on it, you know.
And does he say something like, this may help or something?
Yeah,
maybe.
This might give you some clarity.
This might give you some clarity.
That's what, okay.
Yeah, some insight or something. And
then, it's an address.
You know, it's an address.
You don't see it. But
no, we don't see it.
No, but I mean, that's what it comes out to, is an address. We see this house, like a brief fun sort of house, basically.
Yeah, it's like a fisherman's house.
You know.
It's a cottage, fisherman's cottage,
And like, on the inside of it, there's a lot of art displays, you know. And you see a gentleman who answers the door for Jack, and
Who is it? John Lennon.
That's right.
It is not John Lennon, who passed away years ago, but this man, Robert Carlyle, is the actor.
Chose to go uncredited for this movie, and we're only saying it's Robert Carlyle now because the information is publicly available.
Right.
But for like the first almost a year after this movie came out, he would not confirm that it was him playing that role.
He wanted to stay uncredited because John Lennon is dead, and John Lennon is such a huge part of Beatles music and people's minds and everything.
Out of respect for Lennon's life and memory.
He didn't want to say, oh yeah, I played John Lennon. You know, he didn't want to.
And to this day, on every version of the film you see, he's still not, there's not even a credit for it.
No, he's not credited. But when he opens the door to Jack, he looks like John Lennon, exactly, without the glasses. But other than that, he could be John Lennon.
And I I have this in my notes. Watching my mom cry at the John Lennon scene was a super powerful moment for me, because it really brought home how much this movie, and not even this movie, but how much this music means to her and to the world in general.
Yeah.
And I love you, Mom.
Thank you, sweetie. I love you too. I even like Keith a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of fond of Keith. Yeah.
Yeah, they're alright people.
Yeah.
I'm just here killing time. But yeah, he has this conversation with John Lennon and was like, wow, it's like you found love and you've worked all these different jobs. How old are you? And he was like, I'm 78. I was like, oh, God.
No.
You made it to 78. Can I give you a hug? Well, yeah, that's a little weird, but sure.
You need serious psychological help.
I don't anymore.
Yeah.
That's what, I mean, John Lennon tells Jack that he needs serious help because John Lennon is not, I mean, he is John Lennon, but he's not John Lennon
Yeah.
of
Right.
Lennon and McCartney.
Yeah.
Right,
It's a
because
di-
they
it's a
never
different man.
formed, in this movie, they never formed the band.
Yeah.
They never became. So while it is the person, John Lennon, it's not the songwriter.
Yeah.
He's
And
an artist.
Jack says, you know, have
Yeah.
you had a happy life? And he says, I've had a very happy life. He goes, were you successful? He says, I just told you I was happy.
Yeah,
That's
all
the
that
definition
matters.
of successful.
Right.
Yeah.
And the advice that Lennon gives to Jack is like, if you want a happy life, it's simple. Tell the woman you love that you love her, and tell the truth whenever you can.
Right.
That's all there is to it.
So what does he do? He
Ruins everything.
he shows up at Ed Sheeran's show.
He calls him from the car. He's
Yeah.
like, hey, Ed, I've got a weird favor to ask you.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like, yeah, he plays a couple of songs. Of course, his agent is here the whole time talking about, oh, I'm going to buy this beachfront. Oh,
Right,
I'm
yeah,
so
yeah.
glad that this is
Yeah.
finally going to happen. All this money I'm going to make.
Yeah, this is when
You know.
she's like, this is when she says the line, you know, poor Ed Sheeran, cute kid, good guy, a couple of decent songs, but he's John the Baptist to your Messiah.
Right.
You're going to change all of music forever.
But they're playing at Wembley Stadium,
Yeah.
which is huge.
Yeah.
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 Been there.
Really?
And-
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
On
Your
on the
mother has too.
Yeah. Oh, you went on
She
your
and
trip
I went,
together? Okay.
on the stage where he's singing these songs basically he's Ed Sheeran's encore,
Mhm.
right, for this show. He's using the guitar that Ellie gave him,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is important.
Yeah.
And he sings. Do you remember the last song he sings?
What's the last song you sing?
Hey Jude.
Yeah.
He sings Hey Jude. And he says, Hey Jude. And Ed Sheeran's the one that's, remember he told him to change it to
Hey Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it sounds more modern. Jude is so old fashioned.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was earlier in the film that they changed it.
But basically, he asked Ellie to come backstage, pretty much, because he has
Mhm.
his power to do this now. And Rocky's there, and he makes this, like, he does what John Lennon, John Lennon, advised him to
legend.
do. Right? Yeah, exactly. Who advised him to do? Just tell the woman that you love her, and tell the truth when you can. So he tells the woman he loves that he loves her, and he tells the truth about his inner conflict. Like, he finally lets it. I was like, look, these songs that I'm performing, I didn't write these songs. I'm just more so like
The go-between.
the go between the Beatles that I remember and the world that I'm living
Yeah,
in now.
these songs were
basically.
written by John Lennon, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, and Paul McCartney, a pop band called the Beatles, and I'm their go-between for this world, I guess.
Which I'm surprised that the audience didn't hate him after that.
That I thought they were going to, but he sings All You Need Is Love too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
then he
then-
sings that one to Ellie.
Yeah,
Right?
and then he also says, and this is what I think kept the crowd on his side. He's like, I'm not
Yeah.
taking
that's it.
any money from this. I am as we speak, all of the music is being released for free online.
Yeah.
And I would like to not be praised for it, please.
Because this music deserves to be heard.
Yeah,
That's
but
right.
it's not mine.
That's right. He releases
Right.
it for free, so there's no beachfront for the bitch.
Yeah.
Yay!
She's so mad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's going after him. That's the whole end of the movie. She's running after him.
Yeah.
Then after that, him and Ellie talk it out and get back together. Gavin just kind of steps aside. I was like, look, that's fine. I get it.
Yeah.
I was
know.
always number
I
two.
was always
He's
number
a
two.
good guy about it.
You know.
though.
Yeah, he's a classy dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this random woman in the background, which she must have been a
That was
deleted
Ellie's
scene
sister.
or something.
That was Ellie's sister. She was in the other scene with him
Oh, okay.
when he was like,
See, I didn't know who that was either.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was maybe Gavin's new love interest.
well,
or
I
something.
they do end up
Maybe,
together
probably, yeah.
in the
Yeah.
montage at the end, but
Yeah.
that's Ellie's sister. She was in the scene earlier when he was like, "I'm gonna open for Ed Sheeran in Moscow. You got to come to Moscow."
Mhm.
And Ellie's like, "I can't. I'm a school teacher."
Oh, yeah.
So he turns to her sister and is like,
Right.
"Hey, Ellie just quit. You want to be my manager?" And she's like, "I can't. I got to do rehearsals for the school
Okay.
play."
I guess it's just I didn't really pay much of attention to her.
Yeah.
face,
I remember that now
you
that
know.
you say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, after that happened, they end up together, and they have a couple of kids, and he's stuck at Suffolk, and now he's happy.
And he's very happy because he's living with who he wants to be, but he didn't really
Yeah.
want to be. He thought he wanted to be the star,
But he doesn't.
but when he was, he didn't want to be. He didn't want it.
Yeah. He
And
wants.
don't y'all notice that happens a lot
Yeah.
to actors and actresses and musicians?
He wants to
Yeah.
be happy more than he wants to be famous.
Right.
Yeah.
And he
Not like
ends-
me, in case anybody wants to make me famous.
Right.
I would rather be famous than happy right now.
But it ends on Obla Di Obla Da, which is he's teaching the kids to sing it, and it's something. It's kind of a subversion of something that Ellie had said earlier in the film when he's like, "I'm going to have to go back to teaching. You know, I don't have any choice." And she's like, "No, if you go back to teaching, that's when you won't have a choice." This is when they're arguing about whether he's going to make it as a musician. Yeah. That's when you won't have a choice. She said, because all of your genius and all of your talent will get poured into those kids, and none of it will be left for the music. You know, and that scene, it's framed as a bad thing. Right. But then later on, he's singing Obla Di Obla Da with the kids, and it's obvious that he and Ellie are blissfully happy pouring their genius into these children, which is where they were meant to be in the first place.
Yeah. Right. And that is really the only reference they make in the entire film to him ever being a teacher. Yeah. Is that first when they fight about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the movie. I gave it a 7. It's, fair recommendation. I like it, Yeah,
I think I'd give this movie a good solid 8. Yeah. I really enjoy this movie. It's nothing, technically speaking, it's nothing special, but I do enjoy Beatles music. Yeah. And watching it with someone who is, let's just say, fond of the Beatles. Right. Yeah. Was an experience. Was a hell of a trip. Yeah. And so I would solidly give this movie an 8. I can't think of any major flaws with it. A couple of things that I would use different shots for, but that's just me being picky. Yeah. So yeah, you give it a 7, I give it an 8. What about you?
Oh, I get to choose?
Yeah. 1 through 10.
I was just thinking about it when y'all were talking. For me, I would give it a 9.5 because nothing's perfect, so nothing's a 10. Yeah. But because of the music, I'd give it a 9.5, and because of the ending, the John Lennon inspiration, I'd give it a 9.5 just for those two things.
Yeah, I would have been in a 7, but hearing you gasp and tear up at the John Lennon scene really pushed it up a notch for me.
I would have been in a 6, but the John Lennon scene happened. And
that did it.
There we go.
See, and that really made the rest of the movie. That tied the movie up in a bow.
Definitely the emotional heart of the film. Yeah, was that one scene. So a lot of the controversy that came out about this movie was about they didn't explore the alternate universe too much, and I'm like,
like what the Beatles not being there, how does that affect everything else?
All the other groups, the Rolling Stones probably exploded.
Sure. And but I would be interested in that too.
Yeah, but that's not what this movie was about.
This movie was about Jack's growth. Yeah, that's what the movie was about.
This movie was a character study, and it was a small and intimate character study, and it was I liked it for what it was. Just to add one more thing to the list of things that are not in this universe. Oh yeah, and they wake up together after their first night together, Ellie and Jack, and he's like, "Wow, I feel like Harry Potter just after he beat Voldemort."
Oh, that's right.
And she's like, "Who's Harry Potter?" Yeah. And he Googles it, and it shows a World War veteran named Harold Potter. Yeah. And then it cuts back to the window, and she's like, "Who's Harry Potter?" Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Never mind. Never mind. I'm not writing.
I don't remember this book word for word. Yeah. But. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's billion-dollar media corporations things that are no longer part of the world. Cigarettes. Harry Potter, Beatles, Coke.
That's interesting.
Maybe that's what this
maybe that is. Now the world is more human-centered. Yeah. And person-centered. Look for happiness. Look for grace. Look for, I was happy and successful because I was happy. That kind of
thing. My life was successful because I was happy. Right. That's the definition of a successful
life. Not because I ran a large corporation like IBM or Coca-Cola or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or Disney, which is buying everything.
Anyway, thank you for joining us for this episode.
Absolutely.
Oh, I enjoyed it. This was fun.
Yeah. That's good.
So this has been the Doop Movie Podcast. My name is Brian.
My name is Keith.
My name is Debbie.
And some or all of us will be back next time. Bye, everybody.
Take it easy.
Bye.